Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 2CTV with some breaking news from the United Kingdom. Today is a big day for the criminals and prisoners who are being released early before completing their sentences and before going through a full process of getting rehabilitation and of course any opportunity to be able to integrate back into society. And we have some footage for you guys, some videos from outside prisons where the prisoners and criminals are celebrating the early release and how a number of them are thanking Keir Starmer for giving them another opportunity to continue their crimes outside prisons. Of course, the whole thing could backfire. We do have to give a massive shout out to Charlie Peters for being outside the Wandsworth prison, for example, to obviously record these this footage of the criminals and their friends and families, of course, celebrating. We're going to go through some of the examples of the type of criminals that we are now having freely walking our streets, obviously until they reoffend, perhaps, or whatever happens in the future. And we're going to explain the biggest problem in this area. Now, first things first, let's go to the Wandsworth prison and the first video that we have showing the release of some of the prisoners. Now, according to Charlie Peters, there is a party atmosphere outside the Wandsworth prison in South London. The same can be said from about other prisons around the country. Of course, around 2,000 prisoners have been released today. A couple of thousand, 3,000 more will be released later on a regular basis. So we usually have about 1,000 prisoners naturally being released every week. But on top of that, we've got these guys who haven't actually completed their sentences. We have more footage, for example, again from Charlie, showing the celebrations and a couple of interviews as well with some of the criminals outside prisons. We're going to show you, and again, as I said, we're going to tell you the type of criminals who have been released. Let's go to the next video. This is the celebration outside the prison.
Has anyone thrown another one?
So as you can see, friends and people who know the prisoners are now outside the prisons, say obviously welcoming them and celebrating. The biggest issue is this: we have a number of them thanking Keir Starmer for their release. A dangerous drug dealer who's 20 has said, "I am now a lifelong Labour voter because of Keir Starmer." And a number of others who've also come out to pay tribute to the Prime Minister for giving them this opportunity. The problem is that the government and politicians came out to reassure us that these will be minor criminals and those who made a mistake, petty crimes and everything else. But actually, that's not really the case. It's not just dangerous drug dealers, but of the total of 1,700 who are being released today, as we said, a few more thousand will be released later on, include hardened drug dealers, violent domestic abusers, that's also on the list, and even people who have played roles in the killing of teenagers, actually murdering innocent people. Obviously, families of victims are terrified and furious today because of this controversial decision, and a lot of people are concerned about the rate of reoffending, because this could backfire massively up to a point where all these people will be forced to go back to prison. Not all of them, of course. A lot of them will be forced to go back to prisons because they will be doing reoffending, unless the police are not going to be chasing them. Charlie also posted this interview with Ross Heathon, who is 46, who had benefited from the early release scheme, says that Keir Starmer is doing something to reduce the prison population. We can also go to that interview quickly and see what this person, Ross, had to say, and then we'll come back.
Are you sort of grateful to Labour for introducing this early release scheme?
Well, they're doing something instantly to show people they're trying to do something.
Yeah.
And every action has a reaction.
Yeah.
So you're going to feel them ripples further down the line. So
But
I think it's a good idea. He
Yeah.
thinks it's a good idea, but you ain't been in there. So
Yeah, grateful to Keir Starmer.
anyway, I want to go to McDonald's.
was
Yeah, he's grateful to Keir Starmer. So let's talk about some of the other people who are being released today. For example, Connor Shaw, jailed for 32 months for strangling his partner and threatening her with acid. His victim fears that he will seek revenge now that he's out. Shane Riley, jailed for attacking his ex, will also be released today, as has been released actually now, after serving less than 9 months. Meanwhile, several people who posted about the recent UK riots have been sent to prison and they have to serve their full sentences. Domestic abusers, drug dealers, those who were involved in killings are now free to come out without any opportunity to go through the whole rehab process to be able to, for example, have a life outside prison when they get released. The whole point of the prison system is that once you're in, you get your punishment, but there's also a rehab process where, because it's based on the schedule of your sentencing, they know that you will be released in 2 years, in 5 years. By that point, they will give you life skills, work skills, and they will try to help you find a job afterwards. So you will be more motivated, you'll be more confident, and hopefully you will not reoffend. That's the point of the system. But you have to go through the full process. If you're not going through the full process, all you're finding is more friends in prisons who are more professional criminals, and they will give you doom and gloom about the outside world, saying your life is over, the only way you can survive is once you're out, give us a phone call, we'll introduce you to other gang members. Now there are of course those who are being released, minor crimes, who will hopefully no longer become criminals, but as we said, the policy was a blanket policy, and despite the fact that they reassured us that they will not release dangerous criminals, that is not the case. A lot of these people could cause more harm. Ian said, if you want to see what the humiliation of the state looks like, here it is. A legacy of a lunatic ideological vandalism of the prison and probation service we all warned against via rank planning incompetence leading to justice by logistics, not just I mean, the whole thing, of course, as Ian says, is dire. And it will be a little bit embarrassing in the next few years to see what's going to happen. But those who have posted controversial memes on social media, on Facebook and other platforms, they are getting their punishment. The speech is dangerous. Words are hurtful according to the state. But dangerous domestic abusers and criminals who are drug dealers and everybody else, they seem to be okay because you can just trust them, I guess. You can give them another chance. There's another person who was interviewed by Charlie. Again, big thanks to Charlie. Let's go to this interview as well, because as I said, some of the people who are being released early, hopefully they will go back to normal, but not all of them, of course. Some of them will reoffend. But let's go to this interview.
Story.
You early release prisoner, sir?
Sorry?
You early release prisoner,
Absolutely,
sir?
yeah.
You happy to
absolutely.
be out today?
I'm happy to be out.
And you grateful to Keir Starmer for this release scheme?
No. Keir Starmer, I am. I'm a big Labour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Big Labour supporter?
Out with the old in with the new. It's been too long anyway, I think. How you doing? Come here. Let's go. Come on, this. You alright? Oh, let's go. I'm delighted. I'm happy.
So how long was your original sentence and how long did you serve?
3 years, 18 months.
What were you serving for?
That would be for driving offence.
Got it.
And fight.
Okay. Can I get your name? Is that okay?
Liam Fitzpatrick.
Liam Fitzpatrick.
Absolutely.
And how old are you?
I'm 1990, so I'll be 34.
34. Got it. And was there sort of celebrations on the ward when you heard about the early release scheme?
Not particularly.
No.
Not particularly. Not really.
Yeah.
Everyone's been happy today. I'm sure coming out though, haven't they? There's been a lot of happy people faces in there. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you're grateful to Labour and you're grateful for the...
100% I am. I'm Labour, vote Labour all my life.
Yeah.
Labour's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to go.
So, as we said, a huge number of those who've come out of prison this morning have said that they are now thankful to the Prime Minister, and they are, including that drug dealer earlier who said, I am now a lifelong Labour voter. So this is obviously helping party politically, the Labour Party. They're getting new voters. And of course, it's not just the individuals who are being released. Of course, when they are coming out, they've been welcomed by their other friends. So of course, they're going to go tell their friends that you should vote Labour as well. So that's a big voting boost, support boost for the Labour Party going forward. And I don't know how it's going to be sustainable for the safety of our civilians on the streets, but let's hope for the best, I guess, for the sake of the country. But a lot of people are not that optimistic because it's very difficult. John says that there are people just going into prison in Maya that shouldn't be there. These loons should. Yes, I think this is the theme of the live chat right now. Let's get some of the reaction from you guys first. Super chats first, obviously. Massive shout out to Keith Walton. Thank you for your support as usual, Keith. And also Time Lord saying broken Britain with a sad emoji. Vicky says, serious crime does pay. Who knew? I guess. Mark says that exactly what Venezuela has done and many other countries. This is the beginning of civil war. Yes, when Venezuela did this a few years ago, and they've done these sort of schemes many times, especially when you had uprisings. Of course, the regime, the socialist regime in Venezuela decided to release a number of prisoners by basically making them to be on their side, on the side of the government. They came out, they became thugs, and they started attacking their pro-democracy protesters. And this tactic has been used many times, including in the Islamic Republic of Iran. Every time there's been an uprising, and a number of prisoners gets released early to basically go fight back against the freedom fighters. And this happens so many times in dictatorial regimes. Keith says their criminal record will soon not stop them serving in the police force, which will continue to be used to protect the government from the population. Keir Starmer is a KC and was the head of the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service. Just think about how effed our judicial system must be. Rotten to the core. Lynn Blackburn says, so they lock up a protester and someone shouting at a dog, the police dog, for 18 months, but be a violent abuser and get 9 months and then get released early? How is this justice? So this is a good point from Lynn, because not only we have an issue when it comes to those who are being released early, but now that they've been released early, we are now finding out, as we've been reporting as well, and others are talking about this, we've now found out about some of these individuals. Not only they've been released early, but the fact that the original sentence was already so soft and short. We knew this, and it's not a surprise. A lot of people knew that in this country, a lot of the sentencing has been very soft and tolerant. But it's a bit of a reminder to people that even the original sentencing for dangerous drug dealers or domestic abusers or those who helped someone to kill someone have been only months, 9 months, 12 months. Whereas we've had people from these recent riots and protests who didn't really have a criminal record, for example. They made a mistake, for example, whatever happened. They are going to be in prison for 2-3 years. And some of them have been children, 11 years old. One of them was, the other one was 9. I think the youngest was 9. We've had a lot of teenagers. And these people, obviously, their lives will be completely compromised now because they're at that young age going to prison. Of course, it's not really going to be, and a proper prison as well. It's not really a slap on the wrist. There is no tolerance for those shouting at police dogs or posting memes on social media. Mark says, making room for protesters who want him out. He's gonna close protesters down. Why? Because he wants to shut us up. John Taylor says, and political prisoners inside. Is this Britain? No. We are now the country at the absolute criticism of the most of the world. Starmer is a narcissist playing out his sad, destructive leadership. Shame. These are dark times, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, those who are celebrating outside prisons, they have something to be happy about. So they are very grateful to the Prime Minister. And some of them are going to go back to the criminal gangs, of course. In case you missed the celebration video, let's go back to it quickly.
Has anyone thrown another one?
Now, let's not forget, for those who are just completely blaming the Labour Party on this, one of the main issues is both main parties are in favour of this policy. So if any Tory politician who was in the previous cabinet comes to you or in the House of Commons to stand up and criticise what's happening right now, make sure to remind yourself that these are the same Tories who wanted to do the same thing anyway. Now, there have been some Tory backbenchers who were not in government and who criticised this policy even during the previous parliament and government. That's fine. But if any Conservative who was part of the previous cabinet don't listen to any of them, because these people are now, obviously, every single one of them, are standing to be the next Tory leader. So be careful when you're looking at the Tory leadership candidates, all of them from Tom Tugendhat and James Cleverly to Kemi Badenoch, Robert Jenrick and all the others. They've all been part of the same government who were going to be doing the same thing right now. For example, we have actually Reform UK. The Reform MPs are the only ones calling this out. In fact, earlier today, a couple of hours ago, in the House of Commons, we had Richard Tice standing up on behalf of Reform, and he asked a very simple question from the new Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, telling her, why can't we just deport the foreign criminals that we have to make space in our prisons? Of course, there's also a long-term plan that must be done, which is building more prisons, because the population has increased whether you like it or not. So more prisons need to be built, regardless of anything that happens long-term. Short-term, as Richard Tice said in Parliament, we must at least deport the foreign criminals because they are taking up space, and also our resources, taxpayers' money is being spent on them. The cost of deporting them will be much less than keeping them in our prisons long term. They are all redundant. Our political class is a treacherous class betraying its basic duty. It is the basic duty of each government to keep society safe. That is not happening right now. Richie says prisoners are a number one on housing lists in Scotland, along with the migrants. This isn't good. Now, as we said, there has to be logic and rationality when it comes to the long-term ongoing situation with the justice system and the prison system. Ideally, you want a society that does give you tough punishment, but at the same time, opportunities and rehab. You want a probation service that actually works, because there will be some criminals, especially when they're young, who make a mistake. You don't want them to reoffend, so you want them to be rehabilitated. So you kind of want them to be able to get a house and get a job and all that. But in a blanket policy way, when you're prioritizing, as Richie says, all prisoners who come out by default on social housing, and of course the illegal migrants, over those who are good citizens of the country and try to work hard, try to get a job, or short term there just something happens and they become homeless, for example, bankruptcy and everything else, family breakdowns. You want to prioritize them. We're not saying completely abandon anybody who's gone to prison, because there will be a lot of those people who need an opportunity to come back to life, to come back to the world and integrate back. Some of them do deserve it if they work hard, if they show remorse, if they actually prove that they would no longer reoffend. Then yes, we also have to help them. But priority should be the citizens of each country who are following the rules properly, and not really arrest them for shouting at a police dog. 2,800 people watching. Actually, it's now 2,900. Yep. Press the like button for Maya getting past his There's 641,000 subscribers. Fed up of seeing fun. Yes, I know it's been a few days. Obviously, since we made some changes, and we took some break as well for a few days for various reasons. Of course, we got stuck on 641,000. It's okay. We will fight back, guys. Mosh Cohen says, sorry for being the annoying kid repeating the same thing, but please contact Harry Sultan. His voice is vital for Britain, especially now. Thank you, Mosh. What else do we have? Sheila says, these criminals will not change. They will be getting into the peaceful demonstrations to cause problems, continue to commit crimes. Starmer following Russia, and look how that worked out. Yeah, actually, we forgot because we mentioned Venezuela and Iran. That move by the Kremlin didn't really work either. What they did, especially a couple of years ago, when they released the prisoners for two reasons. One, they wanted to get them to join the armed forces by force. They dragged them to the army. That was funny. Some of them were drunk on vodka, and the rest of them, they brought them to fight back against the rebels. Of course, that was temporarily the Wagner group. That kind of worked because obviously the criminals who were released from prison were massive loyalists to Putin, and they completely stopped that coup. Well, semi-coup. It wasn't really going to happen anyway. But now, obviously, obviously, as we talked about that recently as well, over the last 6 months, crime in Moscow has gone up, although crime in Moscow is much lower than London, for example, and we know that already, but for their own standards it's gone up, but it's not really the Russian natives, let's just say. You've got the obviously massive Islamic population in Russia, especially in Moscow, millions of the Islamic side, and some of them obviously have also been in isolated areas who are now causing trouble, but it's not really just about them. You got the others as well. Andrew says, Kamala Harris will get crushed later today in debate with Trump. That is true. Although I'm a little bit nervous about this debate because if Trump overplays his hand, I don't know. I think he's smart. He's very smart anyway. He knows he has to debate Joe Biden differently and debate Kamala Harris in a different manner, but we'll wait and see. Let's just find out what happens later on. All right, what's going on with you guys? Tommy's back. Rally 26th of October. Black, white, unite so we can fight back against Stalin and Labour. And we need millions there to spread the word far and wide, guys. Yes, we're still in the process of organizing the 26th of October rally. It will be obviously outside Downing Street in Westminster. We'll keep you guys posted on more information that when we have everything ready for that. It's gonna be juicy. Super chat from Tesbot saying, have we really got 5 years of this? Depressing. You might not, because if the whole house of cards come crashing down and there's some sort of infighting inside the Labour Party, and you never know, a change of leadership, then of course we can see a snap election before the 5 years. But right now it's difficult to see it. Doesn't mean the Labour Party is popular. The Labour government is extremely unpopular right now already. They didn't have any honeymoon period inside the Labour Parliamentary Party. Today, of course, we have a rebellion of at least 50 MPs against Keir Starmer. But this is just the start. As more problems occur, it will be very hard for these guys to fight back and to keep their government stable. Sandra says, when I worked at the Westminster Magistrates Court, there were days when several courts were just working to process extradition applications for Eastern European criminals. Well, that is a scandal. That's a lot of time being wasted on one specific issue rather than the actual normal process of courts. Darren says, hi Maya, I'm sorry as I didn't have the money to subscribe, but can I just ask, shouldn't we all be putting pressure on this traitor government and making them answer about their WEF plans? Well, of course we should. And of course, don't worry about that, Darren. If you can't join 2CTV Plus, you don't have to. We will continue our live news updates on YouTube as usual. Chris says, I predict 2CTV scandals will come out. Oh yeah, all the skeletons will come out. Remember what happened to Boris when that lady got caught off guard saying there was no social distancing and we partied? Yeah. Is that 2CTV scandals, or is it like, because if there was a comma before scandals after 2CTV, that would sound like, I predict my 2CTV that scandals will come out. If there's no comma, that means my 2CTV scandals will come out. Yeah, commas are very important. Put in the right places, otherwise that sentence will change. But I think I know what this means. This is general scandals, I think. I'm hoping it doesn't mean 2CTV scandals, because there's a lot of scandals, guys. I've got a massive closet with big... sounded wrong. Skeletons. I'm in skeletons in a closet. Got a massive scandal. Massive... No, don't do it. Don't do a closet joke. Right, anyway. Jigalog says, Maya, you bastard. Naya, who's Naya? Naya, you... Yeah, I also don't like Naya. Naya is very, very naughty. Maya, on the other hand, is very nice. Chris says, my bad. You get what I meant. Yeah, no, yeah. I was joking, Chris. I don't expect everyone to do punctuation properly on YouTube. The education system has gone down over the last 40 years, guys. We're all to be blamed. We all make the same mistakes all the time. Anyway. Yeah, grammar was never my strength for punctuation. To be fair, I do love how everyone's now suddenly using the excuse of also dyslexia. So everybody's suddenly dyslexic, suddenly. We didn't have this many people with dyslexia like 70 years ago. Everybody suddenly has. I'm not accusing you, Chris, by the way, just generally speaking. Anti-Islam says, yeah, Naya is a bastard. Maya is thumbs up. Yeah, bad Naya. Bad Naya. That's a terrible name. I'm glad my name is not Naya. Naya. What's happening with you guys? Sharon says, I used to be proud to be British. Sadly, now I am ashamed. They bang on about cuts having to be made to support the NHS and all services, and then send the boats home and save the country. It's not difficult, I know. I agree, Sharon. But never give up, never surrender. Dan Hall was gifted a membership by Barbara Davis. Well, thank you, Barbara. Gifting membership to people. That's very generous. And also, Carano gifted a membership by Barbara Davis. You know, it'll be easy if you just give them you can't actually gift them. We need to create a function so you could send gifts as 2CTV Plus membership. That's much better than YouTube membership, guys. Join at 2ctvplus.tv to get access to our chat forum and, of course, our premium shows and documentaries. Also, a lot of people accidentally click on donation rather than actually subscription. We literally change the words. We one of them is called donation. That's donation if you want to donate. But then if you want to sign up to 2CTV Plus, that's not a donation. You have to select the subscription. You can either do monthly or annually. And of course, if you do annually, you get 1 month free. So that's actually pretty good as well. But yeah, a lot of people have accidentally joined as a donor rather than as a 2CTV Plus member. And they're like, why do we got no access to anything? It's fine. If you send us an email, we'll fix that for you. Mosh says, whenever I see the Death Eaters, I remind myself that people like you use this app too. And it's important to maintain its free speech for us all. We shall try our best, ladies and gentlemen, to continue our fight for truth and media. Alright, so that's the latest breaking news, guys. The next live show, unless something happens between now and then, will be at 6 p.m. in about UK time, 3 hours from now. That's a very, very big show, because that's also our first live show with a live audience. Oh yes, if you're on your way to London, then I will see you guys at 5:30 p.m. when the doors open. I'm Maya TC, and we are the media.